Hi, my name is Jim Rapond, and welcome to Seattle Real Estate Chat. We do this every couple of weeks, and me and my co-host Rhonda Porter talk about the market in Seattle and things that relate to real estate in the greater Seattle area. Rhonda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Jim. I would. I'm Rhonda Porter, and I'm a licensed loan officer with Mortgage Master Service Corporation, and I'm also author a blog called Mortgage Porter, which I write for consumers.
And I'm a real estate broker at Coldwell Banker Danforth. So today's topic, and I think it's a good one for people in this market, is how to decide on the right home for you and when to make an offer. And we'll keep this kind of brief, but I think it's an important topic, particularly in this kind of a market, which is a very hot market where you often have multiple offers. So and I go out with buyers often looking at properties, and there's a lot of anxiety these days that didn't used to be there just because of the fast pace of you see it, you have to make an offer right away, you have your inspections done quickly, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to start with some tips, and I will leave a show notes on these kind of point forms that I think will be good. And Rhonda, you've got some ideas too on this because you see it from the mortgage end, right?
Right, right, I do.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it is a real challenging. I feel for buyers in this market because I mean there probably is more pressure with having to make decisions, and to be able to make them quickly too because of what a hot market the Seattle area has become.
Yeah, that's right. And the fear of losing the property that you really want is huge. And then, of course, the fear of losing what's invested in making an offer, if you do pre-inspections and things like that, that are expenses that just you don't know if you're going to get the house or not, and you're making you're incurring these costs, just add to the whole overall frustration and anxiety. So. The first thing I wanted to recommend people do is that they make a list of their priorities and their preferences that they really want in a home. And we go over some of these things in our home buyer seminar, which we'll get to later. That we do this free seminar. It's great on Saturdays, once every month or two. But making a list of what you think is critical in terms of importance, and then also a list of things you'd like to have, will help you sort of solidify as you're looking at homes if it's even worthwhile. You may walk in and it'd be really charming, but if it's missing some of those key critical things that you said you wanted when you purchase a home, you probably just need to cross it off your list, even though it's tempting because of the charm factor or some other amenity that you didn't expect but wasn't really on your list. So again, tip number one, make a list. Tip number two is still similar. It's make another list, but this is make a list of the homes as you're looking at them in terms of the priority. And you don't even need to write this one down, but if you can organize by priority, or I should say preference, which homes you like the most and the least, then you can quickly start taking homes off the list. So if, let's say, I take you out and show you 5 homes one afternoon or one day, and of those homes, there were 2 that really stood out. Not necessarily the right homes for you, but that stood out. Again, if you just say, well, this one would be the best, and that one would be the second best, not interested in really buying either of them, but in terms of homes we saw today, that's number 1, number 2, and maybe 3, 4, and 5 weren't even in the running in terms of being of interest to you. So that means the next time we look at homes, you have a benchmark of what was the best you've seen so far, and you compare the ones that you look at next time to those. So you might find 2 or 3 others, and again, put them in order of preference. This really helps people kind of clear their mind of all the clutter of homes they look at that aren't in the running anyway. And I find it also helps you a lot when it comes to making a decision. Rhonda, have you seen clients come in with like 4 or 5 homes in their mind, or even just a couple that they can't decide about?
I've seen where clients wind up. Some of them wind up looking for quite a long time, and I think that sometimes they might get uh, worn out from it. And I see them sometimes maybe making choices on homes only because maybe not because it's like the home for them, but because it was something they could actually win the bid on. I don't know how often you see that, but but that's something that I've seen sometimes, and I wonder if that was really the home for them, or if they should have just like waited, even though, after you've been battling for so long, with these multiple offer situations, sometimes I don't know, you could get lost in trying to win the bid if you don't have someone that's able to maybe counsel you correctly or help you through that process.
Well, and you've got a point. I think that people need to take a breath and realize that when they see a home that they like and then they lose in a multiple offer, it's not the only home in Seattle. There are other options that will come available, and with this tight inventory, it's sometimes hard to see that, but it does happen eventually. The other thing that they can do, or people often can do, is expand their horizons a little bit in terms of area. I think that if you're looking in just a particular neighborhood of Seattle, it's like you're looking just in Queen Anne or just in Green Lake, when those homes come and they sell real quickly, you're then limited to just such a finite amount of homes that are new on the market from that point forward, that it's frustrating, and it can take it a long time for you to find the right home. So if you start to consider, well, what about Madison Park, or what about Magnolia, or some of the other areas that might have some of the charm, some of the schools, some of the features in terms of distance from work or other recreational spots you like to frequent, that would still work and still might be very nice. And so again, expanding your horizons makes a big difference. The other thing is that the outlying areas of Seattle are not near as hot in terms of days on market and needing to, or having multiple offers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking up north like Linwood or Edmonds or even Shoreline, it's going to be a less frenetic market, and that's absolutely true in the South End areas like Burien or Renton. Those markets as well. So those may not be that may not be what you want to hear if you want to be in the interior part of Seattle. And I'm not saying you have to sacrifice that, but it's something to consider and to look at that as an option. So the other thing I was going to say, and this is something I see often with buyers, and it's a normal human thing. They tend to want to mix and match their priorities. So, it's very common for me to spend some time with some folks, and they said, if we could take the kitchen in that one, and the bathroom in that one, and the location of that one, oh, that'd be a perfect home. Well, that is never going to happen. So don't mix and match your priorities. When people tell people pick 1, 2, 3, they tend to want to go number 1 for kitchen, number 2 for location, and that's not going to help. So overall, you have to kind of look at them, because there's going to be sacrifices with almost any home, and so you're going to have to kind of look at from a holistic point of view. Is that number 1 versus number 2 on your list, and all of that? So, do you have any thoughts, sir?
Oh yeah, I've got something I wanted to add to, and it's kind of a no-brainer, but I still think I should bring it up too. It's critical to make sure you get pre-approved, and maybe find out like what your keeping in mind like what your maximum payment that you want to have, but maybe finding out like what the maximum amount is that you can be approved for in case you are in a bidding war, or so you can decide if you do want to go that high if you do find the perfect house or not too.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes forget that's such a fundamental, basic thing, but of course you're going to want to have that pre-approval from the lender before you even start this process of looking at homes. And what you may also want to do is, as you start to look and you realize maybe probably looking at a dollar amounts maybe a little higher than what I thought, making sure that the lender says you're good to go at that higher number if you have to go there. What percentage of people, this is an interesting question that I don't know the answer to, Rhonda, maybe you do. What percentage of people do you see that when they come in, they get a pre-approval, but they get the pre-approval for a lower amount than they actually qualify for, because that's their comfort zone for payments?
A lot of people do that. I don't have an exact number, but a lot of people will start off saying, I know I qualify for more, but I don't want to pay more than $3,000 a month for a mortgage, and so we'll stick with that amount, and then we can figure out, what sales price Outback will provide them based on how much they have for down payment, what program they're using. But sometimes I'll talk to people too and say, why don't we look at going a little bit higher, because it's a lot easier to be approved for more and buy less too. It's really easy to update a pre-approval letter for a higher sales price. And it's not that difficult even to update a pre-approval to a higher point, but you're just, you're ready to go then, regardless what you find. Because if you do find that perfect home, and then, your real estate broker, like, say, I expect multiple offers on this home, and it's possible it's going to go for 50,000 or whatever more. It's I think for you as the home buyer to know, okay, what would that $50,000 cost me as far as mortgage payment, and and do you want to take that step?
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. I guess the thing I want to end this up on is the process of actually making the decision to commit for purchasing a home. And I think that's a tough thing for people. I mean, getting over that. I'm just looking to, okay, I want to make an offer. And when is the right time to do that, especially in a market that's so hot, so quickly moving? And I tell my buyers, I use this analogy because I think it's helpful as you get kind of bombarded with all of this information, is see how you would feel about that house. You've looked at it, maybe looked at it twice, and you should look at it at least a couple times if you're thinking of making an offer. And if it still kind of just really resonates with you, ask yourself how you're going to feel if tomorrow somebody else had made an offer on it and you didn't get a chance to make an offer on it. Are you going to kind of feel like, well, I liked it, but I didn't like it that much. I'll just keep looking. Or you're going to have that kind of sinky feeling like, oh my gosh, that was like my dream home, or that was really the best thing I think I've seen in the market, and we've been looking for a while. I wish I'd have made a choice to make an offer. That's when it's probably time to stop and sit down with your broker and evaluate making an offer. And you just have to, I guess, kind of go back to taking a breath and thinking it through, and realizing that the opportunities come and then they're gone. And while there are other opportunities that come around, when you find one that really feels good for you, you should not hesitate in this market. It's not one of those things like, well, let's wait and see if it's still on the market in a couple weeks. I would say don't do that if you really like the home, because it probably won't be. It probably won't be there in a couple days if it's that nice a home. And the other thing about this market is, and you see this often, and I as a broker see it every day many times, is that many of the properties that come on the market have a date that they're willing to review offers because they're expecting to have more than one. So now it may come to that date and they not actually have more than one offer or even any offers, but if they have that expectation, then you need to have your broker stay in close, and you're very interested in the home, you need to have your broker stay in close contact with the other listing broker to know, have you had any pre-inspections done? Has anybody sent in an offer already? This kind of keeping your finger on the pulse, if you will, of how hot is hot for that particular house. And the other thing to look at is the sales in the neighborhood. So have your broker do this. This is part of his or her job, is to pull up some comparables in the neighborhood as you're getting ready to make an offer on it. Say, pull up the last 5 or 10 homes that sold within a 15-block radius, within $25,000 to $50,000 either way of that home. When they sold, what did they sell for? Not so much the price, but the list to sale price ratio. So did they sell at 100% of value? Did they sell at 110% of value? What's the average? Is the average like 108? Well, that means that there's probably, if it's selling, the average is they're selling over list price. That means the average is that there's at least 2 or 3 offers on homes. If the average is under 100%, maybe not. But anything lower than, say, 95%, yeah, then maybe multiple offers are not, they're the exception, not the norm. Maybe it's less than 50%. But if it's over 100%, it's the norm. And so you need to be competitive in that same range, especially for a home that you've looked at and, like I said, resonates with you, or you feel some real draw to it, because guess what? That's probably true for the other buyers that are looking at the home as well. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of all I really had on that. Rhonda, do you have any other thoughts or things you want to share about this?
No, I think that really pretty much covers it. Just make sure you stay in contact with your mortgage professional too, so that if you are getting ready to make an offer on the home, get an updated quote too with that home's property taxes, current rates, and find out what would that look like at different sales points in case it does get bid up, so that you know what the payments will be before you accept that offer, and so you can have a pre-approval letter for your agent too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the agent, have your broker also be in close contact with the other broker about what is the seller looking for. Do they want a quick close? Is the situation where that if they waive the inspection, will that even make a difference? Sometimes brokers will tell you that. Get a copy of the title report and have that kind of look through, so maybe you can take that off of anything you can do to clean up the offer. Waiving the financing is one of the last things we want to see a buyer do. It's scary for Rhonda and for me because the risk is very high. Something could happen, and that means you're going to have all of your earnest money at risk if something does happen. But sometimes that's what has to be done if you think you're going to win, and you need to decide whether you're willing to take that risk or not. It's not something that I or Rhonda will make the decision for you. We'll just tell you what we see in terms of risk factor around that, and you have to decide yourself if you want to go down that route or can afford to go down that route. Anyway. So that's about it for today. Thanks everybody for joining us. We have a home buyer seminar coming up, right?
We sure do, on April 18th, Saturday.
Yeah, and that one's it's going to be in the Greenwood Library, right?
Right, it is.
Yeah, that's a great library. It's right there on Fenny Ridge. They've got parking back behind. It is a very hot area for purchasing homes. Not so many first-time buyer homes right around there, but a lot of homes that, family homes, large, older craftsman homes, and great shops and restaurants all around that area. So it's a fun place to live if you're thinking about buying.
And I think we only have just a couple seats left. That class fills up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's really filling up. Usually it fills up in the last 3 or 4 days, but recently they're filling up a couple weeks in advance. So,
right.
Yeah, if you want to get on that, I thought I had a push out here, but if you go to, what is it, SeattleHomeBuyersSeminar.com/registration, I think that's it. And I'll put it again on the annotations.
Okay.
Yeah, we have new stuff on this on YouTube. They're changing things from annotation to cards. So, and I think we're able to put an external website on that. If we can, we'll do that. And if not, then I'll put it in notes, or you can always email me at jim@seattle-realestate.com. But anyway. Okay, well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We'll be here in a couple more weeks with some more Seattle real estate market news. And if you have any questions or suggestions for us to incorporate into the show, love to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.